Hi guys, welcome, Scatlink here, and we are off for another Nuzlocke. That's right, the Pokémon Emerald Randomized Nuzlocke. My first randomized Nuzlocke, my second Nuzlocke overall, third challenge overall of the channel, I guess if you want to call it that. And, well, obviously, by popular demand, I guess, from what I've seen through the comments of some of my Fire Red Nuzlocke videos, most people wanted me to do a Emerald Nuzlocke, and some people asked me to do a randomized Nuzlocke on any game. So I put the two together, Emerald Randomizer Nuzlocke. How'd you like the little intro I slapped together as well? So I thought I'll just do that quickly. I mean, obviously it's the title card, but I just saved it as separate images and then edited it in Sony Vegas for the intro, and that's kind of a thing. And of course now it's static because it only lasts for a certain amount of time, so that's kind of a thing. Otherwise everything will just float off the screen. But yeah, because of the success of my first Nuzlocke as well, if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. But considering that with the viewership and by like the enjoyment that I had as well as the enjoyment that you guys had from the first Nuzlocke, I wanted to do another Nuzlocke. I'm really getting into it, as well as obviously been watching the Kidnapping and Shady and whatnot. Yeah, that's a thing. And of course, just so I don't have to explain all the rules in like the first episode of the series, I like to do like an actual introduction video to build up the hype, as well as to explain all the rules so I don't have to do it and waste time in the first episode of the game. And unlike how we started the first Nuzlocke, I will be using speed up throughout, and if people don't like that, then I can't really help that. But if I have the option to do so, I am going to use it. It just saves time in the long run, especially when it comes to grinding, but it's going to be randomized, so we don't even know how difficult it is going to be like that. And like I said, this is going to be my first one. And once again, I'll have to give a bit of a warning, saying that, of course, this is going to be epic and amazing and all the feels, and you may see, like, we're obviously going to have fun, and this is going to include webcam, so that's going to be fun. But at the same time, you may see a dark side of me. I might get angry, I might rage. But then again, if you've seen my Chaos Edition series, sub-series of the channel, you're kind of used to that. So that's that. So let's actually get on to explaining the rules of the Nuzlocke and any clauses that may be a thing. And then I'll have to explain what's actually randomized in this randomizer, in case if people are like, oh, is this randomized, is that randomized? I can tell you all right now without wasting any time. So, of course, rule number one capture per route. Basically, if you encounter a Pokemon on a route, you have to catch it. And if you knock it out, or you run away, or anything like that happens, and you've lost that encounter for that route, you can only have one encounter per route, or per town, let's just say that, and that's really all it is. If I encounter anything, I just gotta catch it. There's not really much else to that. I'm just repeating myself at this point. However, there are a few clauses that I am going to be implementing. Once again, I'm going to be having the duplicate clause, which means that if I already have a Pokemon of that species, then I can actually skip over that encounter and go for another one. So if I already have, so basically when you bomb into a Pokemon, it has a Pokeball in its name if you already caught it. So if I had a Rattata, or I don't know, any Pokemon basically, and I encountered that Pokemon again as my first encounter, I can skip over that one and try again for a different encounter. Of course, this is randomized, so that should not happen as often as you would think with a normal game, but as it's randomized, hopefully that won't happen. But even if it does, I still have this clause as a backup. But of course, in normal cases, if I have like a Pidgey or a Rattata or a Pikachu, and then I encounter one, I can skip it. I am not using species clause. Do not confuse it with species clause. A species clause is basically, oh, if it's from that evolutionary line, I'm not allowed anything from that evolutionary line. So if I have like a Pichu and I encounter a Pikachu later, I can't take the Pikachu. I have to stay with my Pichu that I have. That's what species clause is, but I'm not including that. So disregard species clause. I'm using duplicate clause. And just like in the last Nuzlocke as well, I am including the shiny clause, and funnily enough, that came really in handy at the very end of the Nuzlocke, funnily enough, because we bumped into a shiny Tangler. There is a video on my channel about that separately, which is not sped up because it happened in the last grinding montage. That was a mouthful, but yeah, basically with shiny clause, I cannot use that Pokemon. Well, basically, let me start again. The shiny clause, if I bump into a shiny Pokemon on the off chance, even if it is or is not my first encounter on a route, I am allowed to catch it regardless. And if it's any other clause is negated, any rule is negated when it comes to a shiny Pokemon. The only problem is, it has its own rules. You can't use that shiny Pokemon, even if you're running low on Pokemon for the Nuzlocke, you're just not allowed to use it. It's like a trophy, it's like an achievement. You saw a shiny Pokemon, you caught it, good on you! You have a shiny. Don't use it, otherwise it's going to die, probably. So, that's the shiny clause right there. And this time, I didn't implement this last time, but I'm going to implement it this time. That is the event clause, or the static clause, if you want to call it that, in the Pokemon community, or in the randomizer program itself. They classify event Pokemon as static Pokemon. Basically, the event clause or static clause, but I am going to refer to it as the event clause because it's just easier for me to say while I'm trying to think about it. Basically, with the event clause or the species clause, you are allowed, regardless if it is or is not your first encounter in that area, you are allowed Pokemon that are part of events. This includes Pokemon that are part of cutscenes that you are able to catch, like legendaries. You are able to take a fossil in a cave or in an area, and yet you can still have your first encounter for that area because that is like one of the things. So it's like the Snorlaxes as well. I mean, those two are event Pokemon. I turned down one of them in my Fire Red Nuzlocke because on the other route I didn't actually catch anything, and I also had to be like, oh, I have the Zubat from Mount Moons, therefore I can't revive the fossil once I reach Cinnabar Island. So it was kind of like that. I mean, hell, I couldn't even catch Pokemon by fishing in Pallet Town because of my starter Pokemon. But with Event Clause, I'm still allowed to get an encounter in that area. Plus, as the game is randomized, that is going to give me a wider range of Pokemon to see what the hell things become what. So that'll be really interesting. So Event Clause is included in this Nuzlocke, but it wasn't last time. And yeah, I think that is about it. So to overview with rule number 1 is you can only catch one Pokemon per area. If it's dead, it's gone for good. And I am following these clauses. I am following the duplicate clause, I am following the shiny clause, and I am following the event/static clause. I am not following species clause or any other clause that I haven't mentioned, just to avoid confusion. And of course, back to continue on with the rules now that we've covered the first rule, because most of the clauses are part of the first rule. Rule number 2, if a Pokemon is fainted, it is considered dead. This is like the main part of the Nuzlocke. I mean, this is like one of the main parts of Nuzlocke. It's like these two rules, 1 and 2, go hand in hand. You limit your Pokemon, and then if you lose Pokemon, you're limited even more. So if a Pokemon is fainted, it's considered dead, it's gone for good. If you get a game over, or basically white out, black out, lose a battle, you failed the challenge. It's game over. Your challenge ends right there. And when a Pokemon dies, you either release it or box it permanently in a designated PC box. And of course, just to give it the extra feels, I am going to release my Pokemon. Just like in the first one. And my god, that was painful. But I'm doing it again. Plus, it's being documented on video, so it's not like if I was doing it by myself, I probably would box them. But as I'm doing it on video, because that's more fun and you guys get to see my reactions, that'd be fun. So, yeah. All the feels, man. All the feels. Let's just hope we don't have another Holy Mackerel moment. That almost killed me. They almost killed me twice, to be fair. But that is another thing. And of course, rule number 3, to have a even more deeper bond with your Pokemon, you must nickname every Pokemon you get. You cannot trade Pokemon, and you cannot, well, for one thing, because they get more experience, you cannot nickname them yourself, and, well, you're not allowed to trade in order to actually evolve trade Pokemon. The randomizer does allow you to actually change traded Pokemon to level up, to evolve at a certain level, but I'm not going to use that for an extra challenge. So, rule number 3, basically, nickname your Pokemon for stronger bonds. It just makes every victory, screw up and loss quite epic, frantic and emotional, so that's kind of a thing, because that was insane. And plus, of course, if we do get Pokemon in this Nuzlocke that we've used or nicknamed before in the previous Nuzlocke, they are getting the same names. That's kind of like a trend, and it's like you remember the Pokemon as that Pokemon, so you're going to nickname it that Pokemon. Well, if it's the same gender anyway, because otherwise that'll be a bit weird. Yep. Agorog as a female. Well, I guess that's okay, because that's a species name, but you know, you get what I'm saying. And obviously, nicknaming a Pokemon just makes a stronger bond, because you know what Mike says from Monsters Inc.
Once you name it, you start getting attached to it.
And rule number, well, it's not a required rule, unless you're doing it as a Let's Play, and it's not an executable / actual Pokemon application game for the PC. If it's like on emulator or whatnot, you have to show it off, because we're grinding basically. Rule number 4, you have to record all level grinds for people to view, and of course I will speed it up with music like I have once before, and so you guys can see any deaths that happen on screen, but not actually properly recording. I'm just recording the grinding that I'm doing. So it's like, if I lose a Pokemon during a grind, you can see it, and you can make sure that I'm not actually lying. It's basically to appeal to the audiences and say, hey, I lost a Pokemon during grinding, I'm not cheating. So it's kind of like a hidden rule for like YouTube Let's Plays only when it comes to Nuzlocks. So of course, that'll be, in my way, a required rule number 4. And yeah, so that's all of that. That's like the main rules of the Nuzlocke. Now I have to talk about like the randomize settings. So this is like a completely separate part entirely for this randomizer in particular. So I'll bring up like certain screenshots of the randomizer right now so you can see what I've chosen here. So as you can see here, with general options, I gave myself the national dex so that any Pokemon that don't belong in that regional dex can evolve, and because this is a randomizer, that's kind of a thing, so I need to have that. So once I get the Pokedex, I'll have the national dex at the start. Pokemon-based statistics, I'm not going completely randomizer, and not many people actually do that, and from what I've seen on YouTube, like King Nappy, Shady Penguin, Game Boy Luke, they don't do that, so I'm not doing it. Sorted. So ignore all that. But with starter Pokemon, completely random. As you can see, I have not chosen custom, and I have not changed the 3 originals, so that's a thing. And I have changed randomizer starter hold items, so they don't all start with one or Ranberry. At least that's what I think they all start with. But if they don't start with anything, hell, they may actually have an item, so that would keep it interesting. And Pokemon types, well, I'd like to know what I'm using. If I catch a freaking Magikarp and it's fire type, that's going to be mind-blowing, so I think I would actually like to know what I'm doing. So, I mean, obviously a randomizer has some uncertainty towards it, but if I don't know what I'm choosing, that can be quite a problem. So that's not being chosen, that's not being messed about with. Yeah, anyway, Pokemon movesets, once again, unchanged. They're exactly the same as they should be for Emerald anyway, so never mind about that. Even though I was interested by the metronome only option. Basically, you could have every Pokemon, not only metronome. And I'm like, what? Oh yeah, and it also gives it like 99 PP or something, so that's pretty ridiculous. I've never seen a run like that. I don't know if I'm ever going to do that. I'll probably just do it in my own time, just to see what it's like, but it'll be like the true randomizer, I guess, but whatever. Trainers Pokemon, of course, they're all going to be randomized. They're not type themed, they're not like this and that, like if they have a power Pokemon, it will be randomized to a different Pokemon of the same power level maybe. Nothing like that, just totally random. However, I have ticked the box that allows the rival to carry his or her starter through the game. So, if I picked a Pokemon that was in Torchic's slot and she picked what was in Mudkip's slot, then she will have whatever Mudkip was randomized to in every battle, instead of it being random entirely. So that's cool. That's the only thing I've selected. I didn't want to mess with anything else. I didn't want to try Pokemon with similar strength. I do want to see Legendary, so I didn't tick that. And Wonder Guard is like the only ability for Shed Ninja, and that's annoying. So yeah, and I'm not having types. I'm not having no, abilities. That's it. Abilities change as what's hit on later on, I think. Wild Pokemon, of course, completely randomized, no additional rules whatsoever, except for randomizing held items. So for all we know, we could pick up we could catch a Pokemon and it's holding something as useless as, I don't know, an amulet coin. Even though that could be useful, I guess. Or hell, it could be holding a experience share or something. That would be very interesting. So that'll actually really help us in the long run, to be fair. Hell, they could be holding a TM. That'd be awesome. Static Pokemon, which is basically what event Pokemon are, but they're just like there. They're like part of events, but they're there. They're basically, it's like the 2 Snorlaxes, like I've already mentioned. I'm going to have all them randomized, all legendaries, all fossils. They're going to be randomized to any Pokemon. So I could revive a fossil and out comes a Celebi or something, or if I open it up it could be a Metapod. I don't even know. So that will be, I don't know, that'll be pretty crazy. Everything's going to be crazy. TMs and HMs, they're all random. The best thing is that for example, Steel Wing gets randomized or something, just plug in a remove out of nowhere, the TM could become a different move, but whatever could have originally learned that TM in particular, which is Steel Wing. So the original TM is Steel Wing. It gets randomized to a different move, but whatever Pokemon could have learned Steel Wing can learn that move. So that will be a lot of customization right there, and have a lot of legality with it when it comes to moves. But we're not using them on a Pokemon Colosseum or XD, so that's perfectly fine. And we're not going to be doing anything Battle Tower related. So yeah, so compatibility is unchanged. The HMs, however, stay where they are. All TMs stay where they are, which I'm talking about. Because they stay where they are, but like if I randomize all, they're just like, you know, whatever. I'm going in circles. Move tutors have also been changed. Whatever they teach is completely different. But the compatibility is once again unchanged. So if they taught you Headbutt, whatever Pokemon could have learned Headbutt, but it's become Psychic or something, any Pokemon that could learn Headbutt can now learn Psychic. So that's another example right there. In-game trades, even though I did change them, I'm not doing trades. That does not matter. It's just that if we talk to them, we can see what they are offering and what they want. So that's a thing. I don't know why I chose randomized items. Field items, completely randomized. For TM and HM pieces and key items, they do not change location. So that's a thing. But when it comes to TMs, the numbers do change locations, but they stay in the same place. So it's like if TM1 was in this location and TM 50 was in this location, they could be swapped places, but as the moves are swapped anyway, that don't matter. But all the other items that you could find, berries, Pokeballs, potions, they could become other stuff. So we don't know what we're gonna find. But there you go, there's all the rules of this Randomizer Nuzlocke. So I hope you're hyped for the first episode. I know this has gone 20 minutes long, and that is insane for an introduction video, but I had to explain all the well, I wanted to explain all the rules of the randomizer just for you guys. Next time, if I ever do a Nuzlocke, I will make sure that the intro video is a little bit shorter, because I tend to blabber a lot. But hey, you guys, if you're hyped, then subscribe so you know when it starts, and yeah, we'll get on to that, because I am really hyped for this. And you guys kind of requested Emerald as well, and some of you guys requested a randomizer. So, until I start our epic journey once again, see you guys next time. What is our starter gonna be? I don't know. Let's see what they'll be in the next episode. See you guys then.